Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Gao Wu, letting you take pictures, you wholesale supernatural powers. Chapter 81. When everyone thought that Su Yu would have to recover for at least a few hours before continuing to fight. He sat cross-legged on the spot and practiced the breathing method for more than 10 minutes. He got up and told everyone that he was recovered. Halfway through training camp, in the past few days, he has shocked and surprised everyone almost all the time. In the observation room, there were admissions directors from the 4 major colleges who had seen all kinds of talents. From shock to numbness to shock for him. I don't know how many times I've gone through this over and over again. In just a few days, Su Yu has been subverting their perception of genius. I have seen perverts, but I have never seen such a versatile pervert. Whenever they feel that geniuses and evildoers are nothing more than this, he will always tell them with practical actions. Su Yu. It can also be more perverted. Breaking through 200 qi in blood, learning martial arts in one night, at least SS level or above supernatural talent, an absolute warrior from 200 to 300 in 3 days, and now the speed of qi and blood recovery. Each one is not something that ordinary geniuses can do. This is not to mention his powerful tactical talent, his ability to detect other supernatural abilities, and his great perseverance to complete a cycle of training for the first time. Count the scenes I saw in the observation room in the past few days. They had to marvel at it many times. Perhaps the sky is his limit. In the silent observation room, someone suddenly said something. Several admissions directors nodded sympathetically. Looking at Su Yu in the picture, his eyes are full of anticipation. During the hundreds of years of alien invasion, the human race has emerged one after another geniuses and monsters. Among these geniuses and monsters, some died halfway before they grew up, and some were murdered by aliens just after they emerged. Those who survived became the main force of the human race on the barren battlefield today. For the continuation of the human race, they set foot on the battlefield one by one, fought bloody battles without retreating, and finally buried their bones in a foreign land. No one knows when this war will end. In battle after battle, people often ask how to drive these alien races out of the deserted battlefield. Drive out of Blue Star. How many of them don't know? But watching the emergence of talents like Su Yu, like Gao Shi, like Hao Jiming, they firmly believe that one day someone will lead the Terran to victory. Lead the human race to revenge. This person may be Su Yu, or Gao Shi. No matter who they are, anyway, these geniuses are the hope in their hearts. Su Yu's team is on the way to find the strange beast. Everyone was extremely silent, seeing Su Yu's strength. It became clear to everyone that they had become his burden. What's the point of making up this squad if you can't help him? Everyone is constantly asking themselves in their minds. How should I do? What to do to become stronger? What to do to contribute in the battle? Su Yu knew what they were thinking at the moment. He didn't try to explain or persuade them, because he knew that this was a process that everyone had to go through. The same goes for him too. When he really enters the barren half in the future, he will also be a burden. The burden is not terrible, the terrible thing is that there is no heart that wants to become stronger and fight side by side with others. As long as you have such a heart, even if you are a burden, the thighs in the team are still willing to take time to carry you. Because he knows that one day you will become his most trusted comrade in arms. Song Qingwan and the others thought about how they could help Su Yu. Su Yu is also groping for how to grow faster. When he resolutely chose to take the road of being invincible in the same realm yesterday, he realized one thing. If you choose this path, the difficulty of bone tempering is a problem, and the consumption of blood is also a problem. It is also the addition of these two that will cause an absolute warrior whose bone tempering speed should be far faster than an ordinary person to be even worse than an ordinary person. He still doesn't know how to solve the difficulty of bone tempering. But blood consumption has never been a big deal for him. Killing a rank 4 beast can restore 100% of the blood at the current stage, and it can still be retained. As long as he has accumulated enough qi and blood recovery rewards on weekdays. Receive it when he is bone tempered, and he will always maintain a state of exuberant energy and blood. In this way, all the time and resources he needs to spend to recover his qi and blood will be wiped out. His bone tempering speed can still maintain a top-notch level. Not to mention that the system will open new functions after the novice period. So when several admissions directors defaulted to Su Yu's choice of invincible, his progress would slow down. He never actually worried himself, he thought more about how he could do his best. Martial arts ambition is not just talk. Now that such an ambition has been set, even if there are tens of thousands of people, I will go there. Thinking in their hearts, the expressions of the 5 people walking forward tightened at the same time. Sure enough, after not seeing a 4th-grade strange beast yesterday afternoon, the probability of encountering a 4th-rank alien beast today is surprisingly high. Needless to say, each took out their weapons and unfolded their abilities. Holding the Overlord spear, Su Yu rushed forward alone. This time, no one else watched him perform alone. While Fu Yu was in sync with the spirit, he was still trying to interfere with the spirit of the beast. Lin Yan hypnotized herself into a 3rd-grade sawtooth rabbit, exuding the breath of a 3rd-grade giant-toothed rabbit. He also kept simulating the abilities of alien beasts, and the strength of his legs became stronger visible to the naked eye. Song Qingwan's use of abilities was no longer limited to freezing. She tried ice cones, ice guns, hailstones, and ice shields one by one, and also tried to cooperate with Su Yu's abilities, even overlapping and strengthening them. Chow Chow threw out the long whip again and again. She observed the place hit by the long whip, and based on the different reactions of the beast, she immediately fed back the possible weak points of the beast to Su Yu. While looking for the weak point, she also meditated in her heart about falling down and cramping. She didn't know if it would work or not, anyway, she just cursed the strange beast like this. Another war is over. This time, everyone was exhausted to the extreme. Su Yu thought about taking a longer rest. Fu Yu immediately said, "Su Yu, rest well, we will continue hunting. You don't need to worry about us. Anyway, you can do it alone. We can't help you, but at least we can't drag you down." Several other people also looked at Su Yu and had the same thought. Su Yu had no choice but to ask, "It's no problem if you want to develop abilities, but you must pay attention to the consumption of vitality and blood. I don't want to be a little careless. Some of us are injured." Everyone nodded. A group of people sat on the ground and began to recover. On the standings, it has not been more than an hour since the last increase of 100,000 points. Su Yu's team once again scored 100,000 points. The 670,000 points is one step closer to Gao Zai's team's 800,000 points. When other squads are fighting, the distance between Su Yu's team and the first place is getting closer, and even surpassed. So, one morning passed. When everyone opened the bracelet again, they looked at the name of the first place. Everyone wiped their eyes subconsciously. What's wrong? Am I dazzled? Isn't the word Gao Shi the number 1? Why is it Su Yu now? There is a bug in the leaderboard. Questions popped up in everyone's minds, so they followed the team name to look at the points. Su Yu team 970,000. In one morning, in less than 6 hours, they raised 500,000. Am I crazy? Or did they hang up? Wu Linlin's team, Anime looked at the number 1 name and points on the bracelet. She didn't speak for a long time. The others were also silent. When there are 2 hang-ups in a game, it will seriously affect the game experience of others. This time she did not say that she must surpass Su Yu's team. She asked very confusedly, "Sister Linlin, do you think we have any hope of surpassing them in the future?" Wu Linlin shook her head. "It may be difficult, but this is not the reason for us to give up." She smiled. "We still have the chance to hunt other teams the day after tomorrow, and the world is still undecided." Her words did not ignite too much fighting spirit in everyone. Because everyone knows, judging by the speed at which Su Yu's team hunts down strange beasts, there is at least a notch between each other in strength. If they really challenge them on the 6th day, not to mention not being able to get the first place, it is even more likely that they would not even be able to keep the top 10. While hunting other teams, facing such a large point gap, Wu Linlin didn't say anything more, but she didn't look very lonely either. She has always known that there are many geniuses in this world who are stronger than her. Therefore, she has always been able to treat these monstrous geniuses with a normal heart. Most of the time, what she wants to surpass is herself. The other side, because they had to fight for a whole day, Hao Jiming's team killed 2 rank 4 alien beasts and 4 rank 3 alien beasts in one morning. At this moment, they were surrounded by the bonfire, seeing the rabbit meat scorched, but no one paid any attention to it. As the captain, Hao Jiming's expression became serious for the first time. After thinking for a while, he said, "Next, I hope everyone is ready, we will hunt them the day after tomorrow." His tone was extremely certain. He is very aware of the speed at which Su Yu's team hunts strange beasts, if they can continue in the afternoon. Even if they cut the scroll blade with the spiritual weapon, it is impossible for them to catch up again. Since hunting is no match, then just put all your goals on the day after tomorrow. For him, there is no difference between being second and last if he fails to get the first place. Gao Zai's team is in the cave. The other four were still breaking through. Gao Shi took off the bracelet and wanted to throw it aside more than once. This scoreboard is too affecting people's mood. He thought about the possibility of being FK'd by Su Yu. But I really didn't expect this moment to come so early. Could it be that he has stepped into the warrior realm? But what's the point of taking first place like this? No, he has gone beyond the limit. No, logically speaking, he should still have room for improvement. He doesn't need to break through ahead of time just to be the first. Or is he like me, he can recover blood quickly? What about mental power? Gao Shi kept muttering in his heart. The more he thought about it, the more confused he became. Compared with being caught up in points, he is obviously more curious about how Su Yu can achieve this step. After walking back and forth a few times, he was afraid of affecting the breakthrough of the other four people, so he returned to the original place and sat down to start cultivating spiritual power. Hao Jiming has made up his mind to target Su Yu. He didn't want to pay too much attention to the points, and he tried his best to get to the final place. Anyway, if you try your best, you can't blame him if you can't get the first dad. If you want to blame the competitor for being too perverted. Gao Shi couldn't help but want to get acquainted with Su Yu now. Growing up so big, others have always called him perverted and cheating. It was the first time he felt the same thoughts about other people's hearts. The point hunting battle in the training camp is still going on. As night fell, watch Su Yu's team gain another 600,000 points in the afternoon. All teams have been numb. While lamenting the abnormality of this team, everyone is also curious about how much Gao Shi and the others can recover tonight. Points list. First Su Yu team 1,470,000. The second Hao Jiming team, 1,020,000. The third Gao Shi team 850,000. Four admissions directors surrounded Zhu Yun and asked him to stare at the list. Qian Yun was the first to attack, and sneered, "Come on, look at your student's ranking, tell me, how did we make your student miss the first place?" Deng Ji also said in a surprised tone, "I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that our Professor Zhu would also be mistaken, but I heard that Professor Zhu has clever tricks on the battlefield." Zhu Yun didn't change his face. "My student's ability to take the first place is his ability, and it's your business that you affect him. Is there a conflict between the two? Everyone, have you ever thought that if it weren't for you?" Before Zhu Yun finished speaking, the four admissions directors walked out of the observation room together. Cheng Yang suppressed a smile. Zhu Yun glanced at him. "Is this the student you have taught for 3 years?" Cheng Yang's smile disappeared. "What's the matter? Labor and management have mainly taught him to be a man for the past 3 years. Another night passed. Gao Zai's team's 650,000 points in one night disappointed everyone. At this time, everyone also understands that as long as there is no problem tomorrow. In the team hunting stage, the first place can basically be determined to be Su Yu's team. This made everyone feel a little dazed. I vaguely remembered that 5 days ago, no one in Su Yu's team was willing to choose in the square, but now they have already booked the first place in advance. In the cave, Fu Yu suddenly erupted. The other four immediately opened their eyes. "Fu Yu, have you made a breakthrough?" Lin Yan asked. A smile finally appeared on Fu Yu's wooden face. "Yeah. My qi and blood have finally increased. With 179 qi and blood, he was stuck for almost a year. Finally today, a breakthrough was made." He felt that this matter had something to do with the pressure brought by Su Yu, the battle in the extreme state yesterday, and the goddess of luck, Cao Cao. All in all, he feels that everyone in the team is his noble person. Everyone is having fun. Su Yu's expression tightened suddenly. No, did you feel the vibration? Everyone was stunned, before they had time to react. Su Yu immediately broke through the hole and went out. When I came outside, I saw birds and beasts covering the sky. The towering trees in the distance kept collapsing. Su Yu was a little stunned. The beast tide is coming. The 4 characters fell. The 4 people who followed came out with horror on their faces. FK. Looking at the overwhelming number of strange beasts, Lin Yan burst out. Without too much time to react, Su Yu immediately said, "Run." The entire earth was shaking, and the sky was completely covered by birds and beasts. It was so dense that it made it difficult to breathe. Although judging by the situation, the beast horde has not yet spread to this side. But the situation has no place for everyone to hesitate. Su Yu immediately led the way and started running wildly. Fu Yu also directly activated the spiritual synchronization. Lin Yan, brother Yu, where are we going now? This is a beast tide. Is it possible that we are leaving the training camp early? Su Yu, don't worry. I don't know if this is part of the training camp. If it is, there should be other reminders. Pay attention to the bracelet news. If not, wait for another 3 minutes at most, and the instructor should tell us what to do. A group of people nodded. While shuttling through the forest, he paid attention to the information on the bracelet. At the same time, there were teams in the small wilderness that were completely stunned when faced with the attack of the beast horde. When those strange beasts, all of which were below the 3rd rank, rushed in front of them, they even forgot to resist. Seeing that they were about to be overwhelmed by these beasts whose strength was not as strong as theirs. Around the small wilderness, several directors of the admissions office rescued these geniuses who were completely panicked in the face of the beast horde. At the same time, the wristband is constantly broadcasting that a certain team has withdrawn from the training camp. It was only less than 5 minutes. On the points leaderboard, there were only 14 teams left from the original 21 teams. There was a team that was originally ranked 9th, whose name could no longer be seen at this time. Lin Yan, who was always paying attention to the bracelet, took a breath. At this time, everyone's expressions were tense. Su Yu killed dozens of ordinary sparrows with the Overlord Spear, and said calmly, "Everyone, don't panic, this should be part of the training camp. Now you should keep your energy and blood and don't consume too much. Leave these ordinary beasts blocking the way and attacking us to deal with. 5 more minutes at most, the training camp should give the next instruction." Su Yu's voice just fell. Lin Yan said excitedly, "Yes, yes." The instructor announced a map, as if to let us go to the place on that map. While opening the way with the Overlord gun, Su Yu opened the bracelet. On the map, a red castle is marked, and a yellow dot is their current location. After a while, other green dots appeared on the map. There are a total of 13 green dots, which are obviously the positions of other teams. At this moment, Su Yu roughly understood the idea of the training camp. "Come on, let's join the team next to us." Lin Yan, shouldn't we hurry to the castle? When we get to the castle, we may not be safe. I just observed it. The speed of the beast tide seems to be deliberately suppressed. Otherwise we wouldn't be able to escape so smoothly. I suspect that the biggest test should be how we will defend the city next. If you want to defend the city, we can't do it alone. Su Yu explained in the spirit of the same frequency, while leading everyone to approach the nearest green dot. At the same time, ended a night of hunting. When Gao Shi, who hadn't fully recovered, found out that the beast horde was coming, he was taken aback. He said with some lingering fear, "It's a good thing there wasn't a beast horde last night. Otherwise we wouldn't even have a chance to run. Go and gather with the team next to you first." Not just Gao Shi, Hao Zhiming, Wu Linlin, and Su Yincheng also chose to gather with the nearest team. A dense horde of beasts kept approaching behind them. 4 directors of the admissions office, and Wei Yiken, the main controller. While suppressing these strange beasts, he looked at the pictures of the teams in the bracelet. Deng Ji said with emotion, "This session is not too stupid. In the last session, more than half of them were eliminated from the beginning of the beast tide. They also know to merge first." In the bracelet, Ba Ting's cold voice came, "The beast tide has just begun, and the next defense of the city will be the real test for them." Well, defending the city is the real test. These little brats are crossing borders in the wilderness to kill the second, third, and fourth ranks. They all seem to really regard strange beasts as prey. Only by letting them face the beast tide, they will know that the crushing of a single body is completely worthless in front of the beast tide. Feng Wan said. Compared with the alien race, who is stronger than the genius of the human race in the same realm? The terror of alien beasts has never been the strength of individuals. A strange beast that doesn't know how to use qi and blood and can only rely on physical fitness. Before Gaopin, one-on-one has never been an opponent of the human race. For these geniuses, it can be said that cross-border slaying beasts is commonplace. But when the tide of beasts came, even if there were no beasts above the middle grade, it is also enough to overwhelm a genius who can cross borders and kill sixth-rank alien beasts. In the history of the development of the human race, there are even more geniuses who died in the tide of beasts than murdered by alien races. In the observation room, Zhu Yun watched Su Yu and other teams gather. A look of anticipation flashed through his eyes. He wanted to know, facing the incoming beast tide, in the next battle to defend the city, what kind of performance will he have as the only tactician inside? It was to keep that city to the death without retreating. Or should I save my life first and develop wretchedly? In the little wilderness, Su Yu didn't expect that the team closest to him was actually Examen Boxu and the others. When Examen Boxu saw him, she was almost moved to tears. For this good brother who gave away his overlord gun, Su Yu still refrained from saying, even if it wasn't for them, he would have come over this matter. After gathering, Su Yu immediately planned a route according to the map. Everyone in Su Yu's team had no opinion. Niu Zicheng was a little puzzled and asked, why do we have to go around like this? Do you see the difference between these three places? Su Yu casually pointed to 3 points on the map. Niu Zicheng was still puzzled. Su Yu didn't have a map before, so they hunted exotic animals purely by groping. But it was different now, a detailed map was in front of him. He could tell at a glance which places were most likely to have groups of alien beasts. The tuyere here, the bushes here, and the long slope lawn, this place is the most suitable environment for wind wolves to live in. They live in packs. Think about it, if we meet head-on. Su Yu didn't continue talking, and set off directly. Song Qingwan and the others immediately followed, and Niu Zicheng also followed after he had a long-sighted face. During the next journey, he never raised any questions. In the little wilderness, the teams that were supposed to avoid each other as much as possible on the 6th day began to gather ahead of schedule at this moment because of the beast horde. A castle standing above the wilderness appeared in the eyes of everyone. Moats, steel gates, crossbow arrows on the city walls, laser cannons, dome grids, and more. This castle was obviously built to resist the beast tide. There are 3 large characters of Lookout City written on the steel gate. The steel gates of the castle were closed. Su Yu and his team of 4 teams of 20 people approached the castle. The steel gate slowly opened, and a group of people rushed into the castle without daring to stay. Su Yu, the man in black who opened the door for them, looked at Su Yu. Su Yu nodded. Hao Jiming. Now there are 7 teams in the city, 2 wounded, 12 warriors, and 20 people with supernatural powers. This is the general ability characteristic of each ability user. Hao Jiming handed over a brochure directly. He was going to hunt Su Yu's team tomorrow, but now he gave Su Yu all the information about his team. He said, although I don't know what level you are, I believe in the assessment standards of the Tactician League. Until the end of the training camp, our team will absolutely obey your command. Hao Jiming, who was ranked number 3 in the pre-ranked team, took the lead, and the other teams immediately stepped forward to say that all actions were under Su Yu's command. Su Yu nodded. The beast swarm should arrive in a while. Let's hurry up and recover. After speaking, he picked up the booklet Hao Jiming gave him and began to study it. After seeing Hao Jiming's name, the words Space Shuttle were written. He froze. Well, I have time to take a few more photos of this buddy. When he came back to his senses, he continued to look at other people's abilities. Some can control earth elements, some are suspected of life recovery, some have sonic attacks, some summon meteorites to fall, and some even control corpses. There are 20 supernatural beings, each of whom is unique and powerful. While thinking about how to match their abilities, Suyu looked at whether his ability gauge was enough. In my mind, I have roughly a few collocation plans. He began to check the weapons and equipment in the city. This is a castle standing alone in the wilderness, with 4 gates in the southeast, northwest, Suzaku, Xuanwu, Qinglong, and Baihu. On the inscription in the city, the function of the city is introduced in detail. Since the first year of Budo, the attack of the beast tide has always been the most difficult crisis for human beings to resist. Countless cities were destroyed by alien beast attacks. Under the threat of not knowing when the beast tide will usher in, the Overlook City was born. They stood in the wilderness, and there was no sign of human life within 100 miles. Their greatest role is to resist the beast tide before it hits, and to report to the major cities as soon as possible. On average, an army of 300 people will be placed in a lookout city. From the moment they set foot in Overwatch, they were ready to die before all. Their goal is to use their sacrifices to give those behind them a chance to survive. Being able to defend against the beast horde for a day and a night is considered a mission completion. On the city inscription, after a few short introductions to Wangwang City, it is a deed recorded in blood one by one. Zhang Qin, the general guard of the Wangwang City in Ziling, led 300 people to defend the city for 3 days and 2 nights, and finally bought precious time for Ziling City, and Ziling City successfully defended a beast horde. Of the 300 people in the watch city of Ziling, all of them sacrificed heroically, except for the correspondent Cheng Chaoe. Ouyang Yun, the defender of the 9 cities lookout city, led 600 people to defend the city for 7 days and 7 nights. Look at the deeds recorded on the inscription. Suyu stood in awe. At this time, other teams also arrived in Overwatch City one after another. As Hao Jiming's chosen defender, Suyu issued his first order. When all the geniuses came to the inscription and looked at the handwriting on the inscription that seemed to be carved with blood. In this lookout city, there is only one thought left in everyone's mind. Stick to it. Guard this city for a day and a night. Otherwise, they would have failed the sacrifices of these forefathers. The pre-war mobilization has been done. Suyu glanced at the list and found that Gao Shi and the other 2 teams hadn't arrived yet. He glanced at the map and found that the other party was only a few kilometers away from the Overlook City, but he had been wandering there. Frowning slightly, he knew that the other party must be in trouble. He handed the list to Hao Jiming. This is Chulu's arrangement for defending the city. I'll meet Gao Shi and the others. You take charge of these things first. Hao Jiming immediately handed the list to Su Yincheng, who was beside him. I'll leave it to you. Su Yu and I will pick up Gao Shi and the others. Without waiting for Su Yu to speak, he took the initiative to say, my ability can take you there quickly. Su Yu's eyes brightened. Can you take people to the shuttle? At most 1 person. Hao Jiming said. That's enough, let's go. Su Yu didn't hesitate at all. Hao Jiming put his hands on his shoulders. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, the 2 disappeared out of thin air. Looking around the city, Su Yincheng looked at the list in his hand, dumbfounded. These 2 people just lost the stall to themselves. Immediately, he looked at the list carefully, and then froze. This Su Yu, is he really serious? He planned to arrange 20 people from Qinglong, Baihu, and Xuanwu. The Suzaku gate is guarded by their team plus another team. Go crazy, in the little wilderness. After Hao Jiming took Su Yu back and forth several times, he was only a few hundred meters away from where Gao Zai's team was. Su Yu roughly felt that Hao Jiming took people through the space, and the distance at a time was about 1,000 meters. This is definitely a miracle. The most important thing is that he didn't seem to consume a lot of mental energy during this journey. Hao Jiming knew what Su Yu was thinking. He took the initiative. Using it in battle is different from using it on the road. Su Yu nodded. There is still great potential for development. Hao Jiming stopped talking. The 2 started to move at the same time, rushing towards Gao Shi. A moment later, the top 3 on the points leaderboard. Meeting for the first time in the wilderness. It's just that this is the first time we meet. There's no time to greet each other, and we don't have time to challenge each other. The 4 fourth-rank Wind Wolves who were besieging and killing Gao Shi and the others had already made it difficult for Gao Shi to deal with. Su Yu looked at it. Gao Shi wanted to save everyone as much as possible, and his mental power was obviously exhausted, which made him look so embarrassed. Without any hesitation, Su Yu flashed the black gold overlord gun, and Hao Jiming held the soft sword in his hand. The two stepped forward to join the battlefield. Hao Jiming rescued Gao Shi first. Su Yu held the overlord gun and fired directly at the two wind wolves. At the beginning, there was an explosion of blood. Both Gao Shi and Hao Jiming were taken aback for a moment. And guarding the city, what do you do when you explode like this? Su Yu's outburst of qi and blood not only made Gao Shi and Hao Jiming dumbfounded. Those two violent wind wolves who were still howling at him. He was also slammed dozens of times in a row as soon as they met, and he was stunned. In those bloodthirsty eyes, there was even a little more confused expression like Erha. Why is this human being so fierce? If they were hit by a random shot, they would be torn apart. Hao Jiming squinted his eyes and was very puzzled, even though Su Yu was holding AC-level spiritual weapon, the Overlord Spear. But AC-level spiritual weapon can't just kill a 4th-rank beast with a single shot. Could it be that this reckless man has a power-type ability? And that ghostly figure, is this a martial art lost step? Hao Jiming murmured. On the side, Gao Shi was a little excited. This is a hunk. No wonder they have such high points. As he said, he raised the black iron épée and threw it straight at the wind wolf in front of him. The 4-headed beasts made him very aggrieved before. Now that he finally had a chance to vent, he rushed forward to bombard the wind wolf with wide-open arms. Some black lines appeared on Hao Jiming's forehead. Holding the soft sword, he followed immediately. Su Yu killed 2 4th-grade exotic beasts by himself. The 2 of them besieged a 4th-grade beast. The remaining one was given to the other 14 people. Hao Jiming and Gao Shi took the first step to kill the strange beast in front of them. The strong smell of blood spread in the air. The 2 wind wolves who were being beaten by Su Yu found that their companions had died. Immediately, the idea of wanting to escape came into being. And Su Yu immediately seized this opportunity, his eyes suddenly turned blue. He was going to come over to help the 2 of them see the situation, but stopped at the same time. Ability. This is the ability. He has other powers that he hasn't used. The Ice Age blooms. The 2 wind wolves, who had no fighting spirit, were instantly frozen. After Su Yu quickly pierced through the head of one wind wolf, his figure flickered and predicted the escape route of the other wind wolf in advance after thawing. Boom! Su Yu swept down from top to bottom, and Feng Lang's back was completely sunken. There was a whimper in its throat. There was a pop. Su Yu took the shot without any pause, piercing through the head in an instant. 2 4th-rank alien beasts, dead. Aside, Hao Jiming and Gao Shi looked at each other. The last wind wolf was easily killed by the 3 of them. Seeing Su Yu sluggish and holding a camera to take pictures of the strange beast, Hao Jiming hesitated to speak. Su Yu didn't stop. Let's go first, the beast tide may hit us at any time, and there is no time for us to recover. A group of people moved forward quickly and finally arrived at Lookout City. Looking around the city, everyone was relieved to see them coming back. But sensing that Su Yu's qi and blood were sluggish, Gao Zai's spirits were low. Everyone couldn't help worrying about the next battle to defend the city. The beast horde has not completely spread over yet. Obviously this is the last adjustment time given to them by the instructor. Return to Overlook City. After Su Yu asked Lin Yan to help collect information about a dozen other people. Sit cross-legged on the spot and start to recover. Lin Yan's information hadn't been registered yet, and he got up vigorously. Hao Jiming's eyes widened a lot on the spot. Seeing Su Yu recovering so quickly, everyone almost stared out their eyes. Su Yu smiled shyly, and explained, I have always recovered my vitality very quickly, you can understand it as my special ability. A group of people fell silent. Everyone who had just seen Su Yu use the ice element was even more at a loss at the moment. Everyone is a genius, is there such a big gap? Hao Jiming deduced in his mind, if his team besieged Su Yu with 5 people, would it be possible to win? He was silent. His space piercing is an extremely unsolvable ability in single-target combat. As long as he was given a chance, it would be a one-hit kill. However, how many seconds can the other 4 members of the team drag Su Yu? Or, if he is shot by Su Yu, will he still be able to fight? He has a chance to kill with one blow. Su Yu is extremely powerful, any blow may be fatal. Hao Jiming gave up the idea of bringing others to challenge Su Yu's team from the bottom of his heart. At the same time, he also began to look forward to the arrival of the group arena. He really wanted to have a try with Su Yu, who would win the battle against each other. Looking around the city, everyone realized Su Yu's abnormality for the first time. Taking advantage of the opportunity that everyone was shocked by the recovery speed of his blood, Su Yu glanced at everyone and said loudly, "Everyone. Presumably you have all seen the deeds recorded on this monument." He looked at the watchtower standing in the city. The others also looked back. He said in a deep voice, "For the soldiers of Overlook City, defending Overlook City for 1 day and 1 night is only their minimum task. They guarded the people behind them with their lives. They exchanged their lives for what we are now. Today, we are not the Lookout Army, but we are now in the Lookout City." Su Yu's tone became more and more high-spirited. "At this moment, the tide of beasts is coming. I want to defend this city of lookouts for a day and a night. Keep this monument from being trampled by strange beasts. Keep the honor of belonging to the Lookout Army. Would you all be willing to join me? Defend Overwatch City. Defend Overwatch City." Su Yu never expected that Hao Jiming would be the first one to cooperate with him in shouting slogans. Defend Overwatch City. In Wangwang City, there were a total of 70 students, and everyone shouted like 1,000 troops. Standing under the watchtower, everyone couldn't help but think about those watchmen who died heroically. Before they faced the attack of the beast horde, did they also shout to defend the city of Watchout like they are now, and then die generously? In fact, everyone knew that the instructors would not let them die in this little wilderness. But now, they still hold the attitude of seeing death as home in their hearts. Everyone's eyes are extremely firm. Su Yu took a step forward and said loudly, "Now I hear the names coming out. Qinglongmen, Gao Shi. Arrive. Baihuman, Hao Jiming. Arrive. Xuanwu Gate, Su Yincheng. Arrive. Qinglongmen, Wu Linlin. Arrive, comma. There are 20 people from 1 school, and 60 people from 3 schools." Su Yu made the most reasonable match according to their mutual abilities. In the end, there were only 5 members of their team and 5 first-rank warriors left. Suzakuman, Su Yu. Su Yu took the initiative to take a step forward. The rest of the 9 people who didn't call out also all came out and came behind him. Seeing Gao Shi, they hesitated to speak. Su Yu said with a smile, "Everyone, before worrying about our Suzaku Gate, don't let the strange beast break the gate first." After the voice fell, a cold hum sounded out. "A young man is a young man, and it will be solved with a casual touch." Su Yu secretly smiled inwardly. He then handed 3 sheets of paper full of words to Gao Shi, Hao Jiming, and Su Yincheng. The 3 held it in their hands and looked at it, a little puzzled. "Hasn't this stuff been in front of our eyes all along? When did he write the combination of everyone's abilities?" Standing on the city wall, these Tianzhou youths seemed to have traveled through time and space to meet those thousands of soldiers of the observation army at this moment. There was still darkness not far away. Looking from a distance, those towering trees fell in pieces. Someone is in charge of manipulating the laser cannon, and someone is in charge of using the large crossbow bolts. Those with strong strength will stand directly outside the city gate to actively meet the enemy. Among the 4 gates, except Su Yu's Suzaku Gate, the other 3 have arranged for 2 pre-ranked top 10 Tianzhou to take turns leading the team to meet the enemy. 10 people stood in front of the city gate to block the enemy from outside. The other 10 people used laser cannons, crossbow bolts, etc. to provide them with fire support. Change shifts every hour. As for Suzaku Gate, the others took turns to meet the enemy. Su Yu, stick to it. Excluding Song Qingwan and the others, among the other 5 students he selected, 4 were superhumans capable of mass destruction, and 1 had the supernatural ability to speed up recovery from injuries. At the same time, these 5 are also warriors, and their recovery ability is relatively strong. It can also be regarded as the strongest teammate he paired with himself without affecting the overall combat power of the other 3 disciplines. In contrast, the only challenge is that he alone has to beat the 2 top 10 players in the preliminaries. The combat power equipment of the entire Lookout City. He has tried his best to arrange the most reasonable lineup. In the observation room, Cheng Yang also made a list of defenders. There is little difference from the Su Yu arrangement. The only difference is that he more reasonably chose 18 people from the other 3 schools and 16 people from the Suzaku school. Reduced the pressure on Suzaku Gate a lot. Zhu Yun looked at it, and said lightly, "Your arrangement is very reasonable, but in this way, every city gate has no fault tolerance rate. There can be no problems with the cooperation between all of them, otherwise no one will make up. If one door is broken, the other 3 doors will not help." Cheng Yang nodded and said, "I also know, but according to Su Yu's arrangement, the probability of their Suzaku gate being broken is simply dozens of times that of the other 3 gates. No matter how fast he recovers, it will take time to recover. During the period of his recovery, if the other people don't hold on, all his arrangements will still fall short." Zhu Yun was noncommittal. Cheng Yang asked again, "If it were you, what would you do?" "If I were Su Yu, I would choose Su Yu. At the moment of life and death, the tactician has to believe in himself even more. He has made such a choice, which means he has the confidence to do it." Zhu Yun said lightly. Cheng Yang really wanted to complain that you are talking nonsense, and I have another sentence that I believe in my comrades in arms. He was slandering. Zhu Yun changed the subject again, "But I won't be as stupid as him and choose to go out of the city to meet the enemy. If they want to last longer, they must rely on the defensive weapons of the overlooked city. Fighting in the city is the most correct choice. If they are all dead outside the city, what's the point of leaving such an empty city?" Cheng Yang was speechless. "You are talking nonsense. A group of young lads didn't want the monument of their predecessors to be trampled by strange beasts, so they chose to take the initiative to meet the enemy. No, this kid is testing Wei Yiken's bottom line." Zhu Yun narrowed his eyes and said, "He made such an arrangement, except that you said to guard the watchtower. The main reason is that he knows that this is just a trial. That's why he dared to be so confident. However, I want to know more. What kind of choice will he make when he is really facing a desperate situation?" "So are you praising him? Or are you praising him?" Cheng Yang could tell that this bastard just wanted to use himself to praise Su Yu. "Maid, is this how students use it?" The contents of the conversation between the two of them could be heard by several directors of the admissions office above the small wilderness. Several people communicated using the bracelets. Dang Ji said with a smile, "In the past, the final stage of the training camp of the 4 schools was mainly based on small teams. This time there is a tactician like Su Yu, and he has played new tricks. I think we can invite several tactical geniuses to participate in each session in the future." Feng Wan said, "Tactical geniuses can be invited, but tacticians should not be invited into our observation room." Brother Feng is right. Old Wan, after so many days, you finally said a word of dialogue. Together with Wei Yiken, several people immediately agreed with Feng Wan's opinion. Zhu Yun sat in the observation room, sipping tea leisurely. In the future, it will be a matter of future that tacticians cannot enter the observation room. Anyway, this year, none of these masters promised him anything. As for inviting tactical geniuses to participate in the training camp of the 4 schools, he thinks it is unrealistic. Not every tactical genius can be like Su Yu. Su Yu is a pervert, he said. Several people criticized a certain tactician's shamelessness in the communication. Zhu Yun waited for a few minutes before slowly restoring the communication. "I don't know how long they can keep this time. It's a little unrealistic to want to guard for a day and a night." Dang Ji smiled slightly as she looked at the group of teenagers in front of the watch city. 1 day and 1 night. The highest record seems to be 6 hours. In the 10 years since the Beast Tide assessment began, there hasn't been a single session that lasted past night. If they can survive until night, they are considered successful, Baden said coldly. Qian Yun rubbed his chin, looking forward to it. There is still some hope, whether it is Su Yu, Gao Shi, or Hao Jiming, such a talented person like them was rare in the past 10 years. With that said, he looked at the time. "Everyone, you are ready to start." In the small wilderness, the force suppressing the turbulent beast tide was released at the same time. Those strange beasts began to rush forward one by one in an instant. Trees, rocks, hillsides, and rivers are no reason to stop their progress. At this moment, these strange beasts have only one goal in their eyes, and that is to destroy everything they see in front of them. In this turbulent tide, many weak beasts were even trampled to death by the powerful beasts following behind. Looking out of the city. In front of Qinglong Gate, Gao Shi, who was sitting cross-legged, noticed that the gravel beside him began to shake. He stood up holding the black iron épée, and the fighting spirit in his eyes gradually began to burn. In front of the White Tiger Gate, Hao Jiming narrowed his eyes slightly. Coming. A cold light flashed, and the silver-white long sword pointed at the strange beast that was rushing towards him. The people behind them also showed their weapons. In front of Xuanwu Gate, Su Yincheng looked at his girlfriend Yaoyu. Xiaoyu, are you ready? Yaoyu nodded slightly, and two big hammers appeared in her left and right hands. Hammer them to death, she said murderously. In front of the Suzaku Gate, Su Yu took 2 steps forward with the Overlord spear in his hand, and shouted loudly, defend to the Overlord city. At this moment, before the turbulent momentum engulfed the lonely Overwatch city, responses came from the other 3 gates. Hold on. In front of Lookout City, all the arrogance showed an indomitable momentum. In the distance, a dense mass of locusts attacked the city of Wangwang like a locust invasion. The roars of all kinds of strange beasts made everyone's ears buzz. The whole earth trembled. The arrival of birds and beasts, the gradually darkening sky, seems to be the end of the world. The palms of the people holding laser cannons and large crossbows on the city wall were sweating and swallowed. The war is imminent. When everyone could see clearly which strange beasts there were in the black beast horde with their naked eyes. Several laser cannons on the 4 city gates lit up at the same time. Boom, 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 boom. At the same moment, the laser cannons in 4 directions fired around at the same time. In the black beast horde, blank spaces began to appear. Looking at the land from the dome, at the moment when the laser cannon fell, it seemed that dozens of blood-colored flowers bloomed. The turbulent momentum of the beast tide was stopped by the laser cannon. But soon, these blood-colored flowers were replaced by strange beasts that came up later. Wind wolf, ground jackal, copper fox, shadow-chasing leopard, and silver-tooth elephant are a series of strange animal illustrations collected by Su Yu, and this time they appear collectively. In the sky, sunbats, sparrows, killer bees, ghost-faced birds and other birds and beasts all rushed towards Wangwang City. Just when these birds were about to take the lead in rushing into the Lookout City, suddenly, a blue power grid covered the sky above the Overlook City. Those sun-shielding bats and killer bees hit the power grid, and immediately turned into ashes and scattered. At the same time, those giant crossbow arrows also aimed their arrows at the sky. Put. There was a sound of put on the 4 doors at the same time. Call out. Whoosh. The huge sharp arrows pierced the sky in an instant, and after piercing through the bodies of those birds and beasts, they also pierced towards the army of beasts in the distance. After those sharp arrows fell to the ground, the center of the beast tide immediately burst into roaring sounds. The bomb inside the crossbow exploded, once again taking away a large amount of life from the beast. A ghost-faced bird whose body was pierced, with only a bird's head left, landed beside Su Yu. Su Yu picked it aside with a long spear. Fortunately, the city defense grid is only triggered externally, otherwise these bows and arrows would have exploded above our heads. The development of technology is also very important. He sighed. Fu Yu replied. Facing these low-grade beasts, these weapons are sharp weapons, but they will not be effective when encountering those above the middle grade. Su Yu squinted his eyes and looked forward, and said with a smile, the good news is that this time the beast tide seems to be all low-grade exotic beasts. Here we come, do it. The beast hordes approached the Overwatch City, and the moats, which were hundreds of meters deep and tens of meters wide, temporarily delayed their speed. At this time, the Tianzhou in front of the Sifang City Gate took the initiative to attack with their spiritual weapons. The first battle line is around the moat. Taking the initiative to meet the terrifying tide of beasts, these arrogances of heaven looked weak like ants in front of their huge size. The horde of beasts they were heading towards could not even be seen from the sky if one looked at them from the air. But these are the human beings who look extremely thin in front of the giant beasts. After they entered the beast horde, bright blood-colored flowers began to bloom on the ground. After Gao Shi, Hao Jiming, Su Yincheng and the others charged into the beast horde, they aimed directly at those third-rank alien beasts. Around them are those owners of large-scale damage abilities. They began to call down meteorites, flames, and huge waves. These abilities with ratings above S are still a bit difficult to face with third-rank or second-rank strange beasts. For those ordinary beasts and first-grade beasts, they have a strategic level of lethality. Large-scale abilities harvest the lives of ordinary beasts. There are rounds of laser cannons and crossbow bolts behind him. The battle situation in front of the Sifang city gate is basically the same. Outside Suzaku's door, Song Qingwan's Ice Age is the first release that does not consider quality but only range. Kilometers are frozen and hail falls. The range of lethality is no less than those of falling meteorites and violent waves. At the same time, because there is the same frequency of spirit, they moved forward around Song Qingwan, with Su Yu as the main force. Their 5-member team was like a meat grinder, constantly strangling the incoming alien beasts. The strategic significance of Fu Yu's ability is once again reflected on the battlefield. Not far away, the 4 admissions directors who had gathered together watched the scene on the battlefield. There was undisguised admiration in their eyes. Qian Yun said with a smile, "Now it seems that we have left too many resources for them in Wangwang City. If the fight continues like this, I feel that it will not be a problem for them to guard until dark." Deng Ji shook her head. "Director Qian, you can't say that. Which one of the previous sessions didn't have enough laser cannons and bombs? I remember 2 years when it didn't seem like an hour was up, and these resources were used up by them." From the bracelet, Zhu Yun's faint voice came. "Don't compare those reckless people with my students. They don't know how to use basic resources, and I don't know how you were recruited into the training camp. Even if you're not a tactician, you've at least taken tactics lessons, right? Tisk tisk tisk, I am extremely worried about our country's tactical training. Being despised by tacticians, the directors of the 4 major admissions offices can't say anything. Because according to the conclusion, the Tianzhao of those years really seemed very stupid. But then again, do you think they don't understand reasonable distribution? They just lost their hands and feet when faced with such a huge beast horde. Especially after an hour of continuous fighting, they have exhausted their blood and mental power. The only choice they can make is to release all the weapon resources, and how long they can hold on for as long as possible." Ba Ting said lightly, "Now is just the beginning. According to Su Yu's arrangement, these resources can indeed be used reasonably to support a day and a night, and there is even a surplus. But laser cannons don't get tired, but people do. The success of their next rotation is what matters." After calmly analyzing, he changed the topic again. "But it is undeniable that since the 10-year beast tide assessment in the training camp, it is the first time that there has been such a picturesque battle situation as it is now. They've surpassed previous generations." Everyone nodded. In the observation room, the corners of Zhu Yun's mouth rose slightly. Just over previous sessions. In his opinion, the record of this cheap student like himself is probably something that all the younger students can only look up to. On the war situation projection in the observation room. With the cooperation of a crowd of geniuses, laser cannons and crossbow arrows, the raging beast horde was blocked in front of the moat 100 meters away from Wangwang City. All the teachers in the data group were shocked and moved. The situation at this moment is something they have never seen since they participated in the data recording. Everyone knows that the main reason for changing all this is not because this year's Tianzhao is more powerful, but because this year there is an extra tactician, Su Yu. 55 minutes against the beast tide. Even if there are no high-grade alien beasts, facing the endless swarms of low-grade alien beasts before them, all the arrogances will gradually be unable to support them. In contrast, Suzaku Gate, which had only 5 people fighting against it, was currently in the best condition in the entire wilderness. Su Yu has almost become a beast meat grinder. In the absence of middle-rank alien beasts, his basic strength and speed have surpassed ordinary second-rank alien beasts. In the beast tide, he is completely blocking and killing gods and Buddhas. Not only that, the role of the martial arts lost track is also fully reflected in this kind of melee. Holding the Overlord spear, he entered and exited 7 times among the herds of beasts, achieving the real goal of passing through the beasts without touching his body. While the other 4 were more or less injured, all the blood on his body still came from the strange beast. It is worth mentioning that Song Qingwan also began to gradually show his mastery of Mi Zongbu. Su Yu learned to walk in 1 night with the system, and she learned to walk in 5 days thanks to her talent. The 58th minute of fighting the beast tide. Another round of laser cannon and crossbow bombardment, Qinglong, Baihu, and Xuanwu all started to rotate in units of 5. After 3 rounds of laser cannon and crossbow bolt bombardment, all 10 players were replaced in the first battle. The small door under the steel gate that only one person can pass through was also closed again. The main force, Gao Shi and Hao Jiming, were the first to recover, and those with less consumption took over the laser cannon and crossbow bolts. During the rotation, the first thing they did was to ask the students in charge of communication, "How is the situation of Suzaku Gate?" Su Yu is still fighting, and the others have returned to the city wall. According to the reaction from Suzaku Gate, he is in good condition. After several Tianzhao secretly cursed someone's perversion in their hearts at the same time, they immediately began to recover, not wanting to waste any minute or second. Some people are unreasonable, and they almost hold up a line of defense by themselves. This greatly stimulated these Tianzhao. They all have the arrogance that they don't want to lose to others. Even if Gao Shi and Wu Linlin are quite indisputable, at this moment, they don't want the whole front to have problems with them. The methodical rotation of the first rotation was successful. From the perspective of God, several directors of the admissions office who have seen other Tianzhao assessments. I can't help but sigh again, the battlefield arranged by tacticians is really different. Under Su Yu's arrangement, the strengths of these talents are maximized, and even in many coordinations, the effect of 1 + 1 greater than 2 has been achieved. Coupled with the hot weapon resources in Wangwang City, a seemingly disparate battle to defend the city was well defended by him. As for his perpetual motion-like performance on the battlefield, several admissions deans chose habit. Following the appearance of the second group to face Tianzhao, Deng Ji suddenly said, "Gao Shi and the others were there before, but I haven't found out yet. Look, in the 4-sided battlefield, not only are the laser cannons and crossbow bolts released at the same time, they even release their abilities at the same time." Su Yu even arranged this for them. Several other mentors took a closer look and found that the use of large-scale abilities on the battlefield was indeed released with coordination and frequency. The first batch has Gao Shi, Hao Jiming and their absolute combat power, and the cooperation is not very obvious. Now the second batch is mainly based on abilities, and these coordinations are even accurate to the second. In the observation room, Zhuge Yun looked calm. Compared to depleting qi and blood, it is more difficult to recover after depleting mental power. For the use of abilities and the consumption of mental power, he must arrange it to the extreme. If he can't even think of this, what's the difference between him and the previous muscular men? The voice fell. A group of people silently looked out of Suzaku's door. It was someone who rushed and killed the most fiercely on the entire battlefield. "Well, this guy is not a fool," we said. Naturally, Zhuge Yun couldn't hear the slander of these people. He said indifferently, "Boy Su Yu, he is playing the beast-tide assessment that you are all proud of as a game of defending the city." On the other side, several admissions directors continued to remain silent. Zhuge Yun added, "I would like to remind everyone that not just any tactician can do what Su Yu does. Don't be blindly confident in low-level tacticians. At the same time, I hope everyone realizes that Su Yu's talent in tactics is no less than his talent in martial arts." He said the first half of the sentence from the heart, but he was not so sure about the second half of the sentence. There is no way, this kid's tactical talent is already abnormal. Who would have thought that his martial arts talent is even stronger? It doesn't make sense, does it? Thinking about it, Zhuge Yun glanced at Cheng Yang again. "It's all your fault, kid." Cheng Yang looked up at the sky. "It's none of my business. Now Su Yu can study whatever and wherever he wants. Anyway, I am his teacher in high school for 3 years. Outside Suzaku's door, the tip of Su Yu's spear was covered with a thick layer of blood. If it wasn't for the fact that the shot didn't directly cut through the neck of the silver-tusked giant elephant, and he was a little numb from the battle, he wouldn't even have noticed it. Qi and blood vibrated, and the Overlord spear, which was already dark red all over, trembled slightly. All the blood stains were shaken off, and the blood-red lines flowing on the gun body were a little brighter than before. He could feel that the connection between him and Overlord gun was a little closer. Arouse the vitality and blood to return the carbine to the extreme, and the gun is like a dragon. A bloody hole burst out of the silver-toothed elephant's neck in an instant. Su Yu quickly withdrew his spear and swept it towards the other beasts who were besieging him. The gigantic body of the silver-toothed giant collapsed suddenly. Dodging onto the elephant, Suyu held the gun slightly, and once again felt a little moved that Brother Examen Boxu really helped him this time. Without this gun, he really couldn't kill the quartet like he is now. He didn't have any worries about weapons, and in terms of blood, he still had several rewards that he hadn't received. The only thing to worry about is mental fatigue. However, even under this kind of invisible fighting, the benefits of practicing the 100 exercises are also reflected. The repeated torture of the spirit by the 100 forging method. So much so that he is now facing the battle in front of him, and even has a feeling that the more he fights, the more courageous he is, and the feeling is getting better. Just like there will be a bigger reward after 100 times, he firmly believes that if this fight continues, there will be results. A new rotation has arrived. Gao Shi and the others got up, and once again tacitly sent a message to Suzakuman to ask about Suyu's condition. This time, it was Lin Yan who replied to them. Suzakuman is safe and sound, Captain Suyu is getting better. A few short words instantly stimulated the few people who asked the question. One by one, they looked out of the city, their eyes seemed to be breathing fire. No reason. It is unreasonable. Who is not a genius? I can't let you pretend to be alone. Just when several great talents were ready to show their talents, Suyu's voice suddenly rang out from everyone's bracelets. Don't be careless, the battle has just begun, pay attention to maintain your strength. The voice fell. Several question marks appeared on Gao's eyes and Hao Zhiming's foreheads. Isn't this guy fighting on the front line? How come there is still time to command the battle? Suyu has a ghostly figure among the alien beasts, and the Overlord spear in his hand is constantly harvesting the lives of the surrounding alien beasts. Bronze Fox, Wind Wolf and other fast-moving strange beasts attacked him, but he always dodged them within a hair's breadth. On the battlefield, those third-grade beasts were almost all restrained by Suyu. The remaining 4 are responsible for jointly dealing with those first and second ranks and ordinary beasts. They are all chosen 1 out of 10,000, and they seem like ducks in water among the herd of beasts. After one shot pierced the 2 wind wolves, Suyu turned off the communication of the bracelet, and immediately raised the gun to kill the 2 silver-tusked giant elephants. The third rotation is when these talents are at their most careless. The easy passage of the first 2 hours will give them the idea that the beast tide is nothing more than that. Once this kind of thinking starts to emerge, the consumption of energy, blood and mental power will gradually be ignored. There seems to be an hour break after each round. In fact, for this tug of war, this hour is not enough at all. At that time, these consumptions will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. The embankment of 1,000 miles is destroyed by an ant nest, and a careless and contemptuous attitude is a hidden ant nest. For this temporarily formed team, all Suyu can do is remind him many times in battle. As for the effect geometry, he has no time to worry about it. Anyway, it wasn't a real battle to defend the city, and the performance of everyone on the scene should be in the eyes of those masters. How these arrogances will be evaluated in the end depends on whether they are smart or not. Dude did his best. Suyu swung his spear. I don't know if it's because of the improvement of understanding, or because the constant fighting is more conducive to the understanding of martial arts. After 2 hours of non-stop fighting, he found that he had a different understanding of swords and swords. In terms of martial arts lost track, it has opened up a new world. The system made his Mi Zong step innately proficient. During the battle, the figure is ghostly and unpredictable. These are the effects brought by proficiency in lost steps. But if you just use the misty step to dodge, you obviously haven't brought its effect to the extreme. During the battle, Suyu began to try to take advantage of the characteristics of the Mizubu, and actively sold his flaws to attract alien beasts to attack, so as to find a better chance to kill. The lost step can not only defend, but can also be used in conjunction with marksmanship to cheat moves, set traps, and so on. In the constant fighting, Suyu gradually showed his martial arts spirituality. But there is one thing, he really lacks tempering. Looking at the entire battlefield, his use of chi and blood is the roughest one. He reminded others not to be careless, not to waste energy, blood and mental power. He himself was on the battlefield, and the power given by one shot would always be superfluous. A strange beast that could be killed by mobilizing 5 points of chi and blood, but he mobilized 10 or even 15 points. So when he shouted on the communication channel, In the eyes of several admissions directors, this picture is full of sense of humor. Qian Yun said quietly, facts have proved that Su Yu's martial arts talent and understanding are impeccable. The only pity is that he didn't meet a good teacher to teach him how to use qi and blood. In the observation room, Cheng Yang didn't expect that when those masters went out, he would still suffer the contempt from other people's eyes. He stretched his neck, blushed, and the veins on his forehead burst out. How to teach? You tell me how to teach. This kid hasn't had more than 100 qi and blood for 3 years. How do you want me to teach him how to use qi and blood? In the bracelet, the laughter of several admissions directors came. Cheng Yang turned his head and found that Zhu Yun was also suppressing his laughter. He immediately said, what a joke, no matter how much you laugh, I am also Su Yu's class teacher for 3 years. Cough, cough, Teacher Cheng Yang, our Nanchang University is best at instructing the use of qi and blood. You should also know that our Nanchang University's tactics are famous for their exquisite use of qi and blood. Deng Ji said immediately. What's so subtle? Su Yu's qi and blood recover quickly, is it necessary to plan carefully? Our Dongji University's tactics are the most suitable for him. Explosive, open and closed crushing. You Nanchang University are petty. Ba Ting retorted unceremoniously. Seeing that several admissions directors were about to start arguing again, Zhu Yun said quietly, as for the tactics of warfare, I don't think you need to argue. Don't forget what you promised me. Several people immediately fell silent. I want it. You want it all. You're not afraid that your students won't be able to eat too much. They complained in their hearts. Outside Suzaku's door, when Song Qingwan and the others returned to Su Yu's side, Su Yu immediately felt a lot more relaxed. In fact, the strength of the 4 of them may not be as good as the 4 warriors just now. But because of Fu Yu's spirit at the same frequency, the tacit cooperation of the 5 people seemed to be a whole on the battlefield. Going back to the students on the city wall, watching the 5 members of Su Yu's team up, there is even a tendency to kill the beast tied back. The shock in his eyes never faded. Among them, Li Tianyu of Hao Jiming's team remembered what the captain said before to snipe them. Looking back now, I always feel that this decision was somewhat hasty. Su Yu is like a god of war, and there are other people who cooperate tacitly like left and right hands. They want to beat such a squad. Li Tianyu shook his head silently, he saw no chance of winning. On the city wall, several people looked at the brave and invincible figure holding a long spear. Unconsciously, their eyes were full of admiration. On the battlefield, who wouldn't want to have such comrades in arms? Commander like this. The other 3 parties, Gao Shi, Hao Jiming, and Su Yincheng carefully controlled the burst of energy and blood. Strive not to waste a trace of blood and mental power. They suddenly realized that Su Yu's 3-hour battle had become a reality. They are no match for Su Yu in this regard. If they still fall in front of Su Yu at that time, it will be a shame and a shame. The kind who dare not raise his face when he sees him in the future. Therefore, on the battlefield, they all calculated carefully, and things that could be solved with 1 sword definitely did not need 2 swords. After an hour of fighting, they suddenly found that the consumption of this round was less than that of the first round. After retreating to the city, several people tacitly did not ask about the battle situation at Suzaku Gate. At this time, Lin Yan's voice reached everyone's ears through the bracelet. Everything is going well at the Suzaku Gate. The Chief General Su Yu will drive back the beast tied by 5 meters. Eyes are red. In an instant, the eyes of Gao Shi, Hao Jiming, Su Yincheng and Wu Linlin all turned red. Grass. Made. Also let people live. They stood up one by one, silently looking in the direction of Suzaku Gate. That boy Su Yu is not a son of man. Outside Suzaku's door, Su Yu's whole body was stained red with the blood of the alien beast. Dressed in blood and holding the Overlord's spear, he stared at the strange beast in front of him. Those strange beasts with violent expressions showed a timid attitude in front of him at this moment, and they did not dare to take a step forward. During the 3 hours of continuous killing, Su Yu had no idea how many strange beasts he had killed. It's just that in this group of beasts, his whole body exudes a terrifying and murderous aura. Su Yu stopped. He's taking pictures. He's done taking pictures, and he's on again. Lin Yan's voice sounded in the bracelet. Gao Shi, Hao Jiming and the arrogances gradually became numb. They silently looked in the direction of Suzaku Gate, not wanting to speak. Say good tactical genius. You are so good at fighting, does your family know? Time keeps ticking. Every hour, Lin Yan will broadcast Su Yu's status to everyone through the bracelet. In the beginning, his broadcast was Hong Guo's stimulation to all the Tianzhou. Wait until 9 hours, 10 hours. His broadcast, Su Yu's still brave battle in the wilderness, has become the belief that everyone continues to uphold. More and more people's blood and spirit are gradually exhausted. An hour of recovery time doesn't seem to help at this time. The premonition of failure hangs over everyone's head, and the darkness slowly erodes the whole world. Outside Suzaku's gate, Su Yu was holding the Overlord spear, and was still going in and out of the group of alien beasts without getting tired. The murderous aura on his body has completely deterred those ordinary and first-grade alien beasts. As time passed, the small wilderness was completely enveloped in darkness. Look out on the city. Snapped. Several strong lights were turned on at the same time, illuminating the entire land. Under the lights, the battlefield is already a sea of corpses and blood. Everyone was completely numb to the pungent smell of blood. Facing the beast horde seemed to be attacking more and more fiercely. Su Yu took a few breaths while supporting the Overlord spear. Sure enough, the best choice to face the beast horde is to run away immediately. Unless there is a strategic level of combat power, no matter how much you resist, you will eventually be overwhelmed. The more he experienced this feeling personally, the more he felt the greatness of those soldiers in Overlook City. Looking back at this lonely city standing above the wilderness, he knew that what they were guarding was not the city, but the land behind them, and the tens of thousands of compatriots behind them. When the alien beast came, his eyes became firmer. He rushed into the beast tide with a spear in his hand, and continued to move forward. I don't know when, scars began to appear on his body. The strange beasts at night were obviously crazier and more ferocious. Seeing that everyone is a little bit overwhelmed, the fourth-grade alien beast appeared on the battlefield. Su Yu, who rushed to the deepest position, was the first to discover this matter. While retreating, he informed, a fourth-grade alien beast appears. The wounded are in charge of laser cannons and crossbow arrows, and everyone else will fight. After the words fell, the geniuses who were still recovering their vitality all stood up. Even though they were exhausted to the extreme, they still took up weapons and rushed to the battlefield without hesitation. Su Yu didn't have time to pay attention to the situation of the other doors. After receiving the last reward, while improving the attributes of strength, agility, and spirit, his chi and blood were fully restored again. Hold on, I'll take those fourth-grade beasts first. He grinned as he couldn't see the exact appearance. A smile appeared on the numb faces of the other people. Song Qingwan reminded, pay attention to safety, if you lose, come back immediately. Su Yu nodded. Don't worry, I'm not a fool. As soon as the words fell, Su Yu charged towards the fourth-rank alien beast with a spear in his hand. Song Qingwan and the others looked at each other. You still say you are not a reckless man. Several other battlefields. Under the darkness, Yao Shi seemed to maintain his peak vitality forever. Like Su Yu, he rushed towards the fourth-rank strange beast with the black iron épée in his hand in a daze. The two confronted each other with brute force, and all the ordinary beasts around them also suffered indiscriminate disasters. Outside the White Tiger Gate, Hao Zhiming flickered directly in front of the fourth-grade strange beast. Using the characteristics of supernatural powers, he continued to wear away the strange beasts, and at the same time, he even led the fourth-rank strange beasts to kill other strange beasts. In front of Xuanwu Gate, Su Yincheng joined hands with his girlfriend Yaoyu. Every time Yaoyu's sky-breaking hammer fell, countless cracks appeared on the ground. Cracks spread to the feet of the fourth-rank alien beast, and its movement speed began to slow down. Su Yincheng brandished the knife in his hand. Every time the knife hit the strange beast, there were lightning flashes and thunder. On the battlefield in all directions, the four-rank alien beasts were all suppressed by several great arrogances. Several directors of the admissions office watching the battle watched. Feng Wan said with a smile, everyone, it seems that our level is a bit too simple. The four fourth-rank alien beasts don't seem to have caused them much trouble. Qian Yun tutted and shook his head. It's still simple, so many previous sessions, which one has seen a fourth-grade alien beast. If it wasn't for Su Yu, we probably wouldn't be able to see what we designed until the year of the monkey. Deng Ji nodded and said with a smile, not only Su Yu, Gao Shi, Hao Jiming, they are also the rare one-on-one talents in these years. After all, this session is what everyone calls the era of Tianzhao. Qian Yun said. Gao Shi, Hao Jiming, Wu Linlin, and Su Yincheng are all rare geniuses in the past 10 or even 100 years. Several geniuses showed their talents in the same session, and this session was called the era of Tianzhao. The road of martial arts has been explored by seniors, and the resources for cultivation have also been greatly guaranteed. In a sense, the era of Tianzhao is an inevitable phenomenon. Everyone hopes that these geniuses will grow up quickly, and they also look forward to them being able to lead the human race to a new situation. At the same time, everyone is also very curious, who will be the leader of this era of Tianzhao. Some people think it will be Gao Shi, while others think it will be Hao Jiming. Some people think that martial arts is a long road, maybe Wu Linlin will come from behind and become the real leader. The outside world is speculating about the specific situation of the training camp every day. On the dome, several masters and experts kept their eyes on Su Yu. Outside Suzaku's door, facing the fourth-rank alien beast again, Su Yu didn't choose the fast-crushing fighting method of blood burst for the first time. More than 10 hours of non-stop fighting. Regarding the use of qi and blood, he has evolved from a novice to the level of an ordinary genius. Although it is still impossible to be as precise as Hao Jiming and the others. But the combat level he displayed at this moment has already left the 4 admissions directors dumbfounded. They found that he seemed to be making progress all the time. During the battle, the lure, dodge, and approach of Su Yu's figure made a 4th-grade barbarian look extremely clumsy. Its every blow, even every roar seemed to be under Su Yu's control. The 6 arts of collapsing, pulling, pressing, covering, picking, and piercing the spear. He is like making a teaching film, and his moves are perfectly displayed. Deng Ji watched and couldn't help feeling, Su Yu's battle scene can be used as a university spear teaching video. Spearmanship is good, but fighting style is not good. His proficiency in the stray step is not something that college students can learn. Ba Ting said. Talking. On the battlefield, the difference between before and after is less than 5 minutes. The other people's good news of beheading the 4th-rank alien beast sounded in the bracelet. After dozens of consecutive thrusts, Su Yu finally killed the 4th-grade barbarian bear. The other doors are waiting for his reply. A 5th-grade alien beast has appeared. His deep voice sounded from the bracelet. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.